What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmission, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. I know this isn't the usual time or the usual day. Oh no, it's the usual time, but not the usual day that we do the live stream. But with the election going on, we were thinking about doing election night special uh, stream, but we decided to go get hammered drunk because we didn't know exactly how it was gonna shake out. So, we thought we'd have one. In case of the worst case scenario, we thought we'd have one last hurrah.
Why not?
Yeah.
But
and how things ended up working out. I think that was the better idea.
Yeah, because it's still not called yet.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is like, the only, I think for both of us, the only other time that an election was so contested was, the
2000.
The 2000, right? The 2000 election between Bush and Gore. But even to give to that election credit, um, initially Al Gore conceded, that day on election day, after all the numbers came in, and it looked like he had lost, and he conceded, and it wasn't until later that he retracted his conceit, and then triggered the recount.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. Yeah, and then like the whole thing about like hanging Chads, dimple Chads.
Yeah, a lot of craziness. But nothing like this. This is something really different.
Right. This year, we are trying a completely untested system. Mostly untested system. A general like mail out ballot. We're trying for the very first time. But then also, in the midst, at least in modern times, like during a pandemic or supposed pandemic, we didn't know who the winner was on election day.
Yeah, highly unusual. Very, very unusual. Because they're in some places. They're telling people, oh yeah, you can, as long as your ballot's in here by like a few days after the election, it's fine. It's like, well, no, it's not fine. It's
right. Yeah. It's like if it's postmarked, if it's postmarked a couple days after, then it's still good. We'll still honor it. It's like, I forget. Is there a stipulation in the Constitution for elections and like?
I had to look that up. As far as how all that works, because this has never occurred before like this. So, I think that's where like the trickiness comes in. Because normally, the November 3rd, everything's wrapped up.
Right. Yeah. You go in and like whenever the polls open, usually early in the morning, and then the polls stay open until at least about 8 o'clock, and even in between those two times, like the ballots are being processed and being counted and sorted, and by at least 11 o'clock. At least 11 o'clock at night, you have a good set. You could pretty confidently call the election for one person or another.
But, well, and that's because normally they have like there's like the cutoff time where it's like, okay, they're not receiving any new ballots, and then that gives them time to count everything, and then declare the winner.
And, right, exactly. That's why I think I don't know if the language is used, but I think if the founders did put it in, but it's like election day, not election week, not election month, not election like quarter, but
Right.
election day. Because it's like it's too much to ask for people to wait that long on who their leader or leaders are to be.
Right. Well, and the other thing that's also a huge problem that I don't think a lot of people realize is that with because the way that the system is set up, we have uh the electoral college, so it's based off of um you know I forget like how exactly. So when we vote in, like, let's say our state, we're not necessarily we are um whoever, like, gets the most votes in that state gets the um gets the electoral college votes, based on, and it's based off of obviously like population and like the um number of votes, and that's to help prevent there to be kind of having it be pure democracy where the mob can really like overrun things. But the problem is that there's a lot of states now that are whoever is the popular, nationally has the most votes, they are giving up their electoral college.
Right. They're basically transferring the popular vote to the electoral college votes.
Which is unconstitutional, by the way.
Right. It
That's
breaks
not
the
how it's supposed
rules.
to work at all. And
Yeah,
the fact
I
that
know like several states have like signed like some interstate something pact where it's like, yeah, whoever the popular the popular candidate is, then they'll get the electoral college votes, which again, yeah, as you said, goes against the Constitution and therefore is illegal.
yeah, but the fact that people just kind of like, whatever, it's really like sad.
Right? They just kind of like they just kind of don't think about it. It's like, and I think that's partly due to the fact that our education system is so utterly obsolete and useless that they don't even like teach like these basic things where it's like they don't even teach like that a democracy is fine, but you know democracy, all democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to eat for dinner.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, that I mean that yeah, it's the tyranny of the majority. Um, so yeah, I don't know exactly when. Yeah, so it's really up in the air. We really don't know when. We'll know. Like it could be in a couple of days. It could be in a week. It could be a few months. But just like
Yeah.
that uncertainty is inherently dangerous. I mean, it'll affect stock markets. It could affect like negotiations. Um, all sorts of things. Because like if we started a if Trump started a negotiation with one country, the country's not the other participating country doesn't know like who they're going to be dealing with.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, especially with the whole Middle East peace deal thing that he's been working on.
Mm-hmm.
It's, how does that get affected?
Right. I mean, yeah, he brought in like yeah. I mean, what he brought the United Arab Emirates, the Sudan. I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah, the Sudan is I think talking with them, and then like and then like Saudi
like
Arabia is like
Saudi
putting out
Arabia, like,
feelers to join that.
yeah, I mean, they're at least open. They haven't like agreed. They haven't become a part of it yet, but they've opened up their airspace to these countries so that they don't have to like circumvent all that. They're like, yeah, just
Right, it could be a direct flight, and yeah, it's not. We're not even saying like Israel was gonna go to that country, but like they wouldn't even allow like commercial flights, from like from Jewish airlines to fly over their space or their airspace, and so like they have to they'd have to go around certain countries, which would increase the length of time and probably the price because of fuel and whatnot.
Yeah.
So this like people think like, oh, like it's no big, oh, big whoop, Trump, negotiated peace. It's like this is a really big deal.
It's
There's like
never
there's
happened
some
before.
yeah, some of those countries like even if you weren't Israeli, but you had an Israeli like passport stamp, they would like they would detain you.
Yeah. And the other the thing that is, because what was it? It was 2 or 3 years ago when like all these presidents from Clinton to Bush to Obama saying, like, oh yeah, we're gonna move that embassy over to Jerusalem, and yeah, we're gonna do all that. Never happened once.
Right.
Trump says
I
he's
think
gonna do it,
I think that was
and it,
yeah, I think
and it
that
got
promise was
done.
made back when like even back to like Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, it's been as probably as far back as that. Yeah, but the fact that Trump said he was going to do it and then he did it, I think that was a huge reason why. Uh, and how he's like, yeah, we're not going to just do the same dumb things that like everyone, all these foreign policy experts have been saying for years that have not worked. Let's what do we have to lose? Let's do something different. And he did do something different. Him moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Also, I think didn't force the hand, but you know it it showed other countries like, oh, okay, they're going to recognize that Jerusalem is the capital as it's always been,
Hmm.
and so we're gonna do the same thing. And yeah, it's just him doing things in that what in the way that he's done it. He made and not dealing with the damn Palestinians who pretty much like the whole like that whole group. Their whole charter is like, yeah, that Israel should not exist. Okay, so then we're just not going to deal with you and like try to have this two-state solution. We're going to deal with Israel directly and these other countries, and give Obama half credit for pretty much turning Iran into such a major threat that scared the shit out of all these other Middle Eastern countries
Hmm.
because they hate Iran too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what is it? Like Israel was like kind of like the scrawny, nerdy kid that got picked on by everybody else, but then Iran was at that dick, that
Yeah,
was that was knocking lunch trays out of other kids' hands and
yeah,
giving wedgies and stuff. So yeah, like even though like the other kids would pick on like in this analogy, even though the other kids would pick on Israel, like the scrawny kid, they were weary of the jerk that was Iran.
yeah. I mean, it was such a stupid deal. When I heard that was going on, I was like, are you insane?
Right? Yeah, and it was like, and just like the palette of cash
Of our money
of our
that was
money.
being sent to a country that wants us dead. And it's like, oh, here's some money. Please don't like build nuclear weapons. Please don't like hurt us. It's here's some money. And
Right?
it's
It's
like,
like yeah, and it's like I don't know why. It's just because like America, we're a freaking giant, and we're like we're giving Iran like our lunch money for like 3 months, and says, oh please, okay, just please promise to behave.
it's ridiculous. But anyway, I mean, so yeah, I mean that's something that yeah you wonder about, like how close were we to getting maybe more of those countries kind of like working together, um which is huge because they've been trying to do that for forever.
Right? Yeah, I know. Like the like that you know that that platitude, peace in the Middle East.
Yeah,
That was around back when we were kids. And I'm sure like it started like like maybe even like 10 years before even we were born or
yeah,
or I was born. And so this idea
and
that that they're trying that they've been trying to create peace within that region. It's yeah, I'm sure it's been, I'm sure that they've been trying to create some sort of peace agreement since forever.
Yeah.
So like to
And I
actually
think
like having it happen like now, it's like that's pretty much a miracle.
the fact that Trump did something completely different. He's like he acknowledged like Israel deserves to exist. They're here for the long haul. So you can either deal with it or or not. And I think once they're like, oh, this guy's serious,
Hmm.
and they started to play ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we finally had a leader that wasn't taking a half-assed approach and like, oh, well, we got to figure out what to do with the Palestinians and all this. Like, no, it's I mean, it's not necessarily
I know, because
the
the same old, because like yeah, they're doing the same plays over and over again, and for some reason it wasn't working, and so Trump came in and said like, yeah, we've been doing that for the past like 50 years. I'm gonna try something different.
exactly.
And so I mean, yeah, because like I mean, even like the Israelis when they're like negotiating with the Palestinians and like they offer a two-state solution, and each time the Palestinians like turned it down.
And Israel even for a time was like has bent over backwards trying to like to because they don't want to fight either. It's uh, but so like they're like, okay, well, what do you guys want? Like, you want like this piece of land? Here, take it. They've actually, because the state of Israel that exists now uh, was much bigger, when it was first formed. But they've given away land in a way to like promote kind of like a peaceful, kind of to be at peace with some of these people, and it's been a disaster.
Yeah, it's just like no matter what they offered, no matter um, whatever they propose, it's just immediately disregarded.
Yeah,
And
and it's kind of you know I was watching that documentary that you told me about, Uncle Tom, and how what these very very well educated black men and women who are, yeah, they're conservative, but and they're talking about how for so long, like a lot of the the Democrats obviously pretty much expect that, like, oh, you're kind of like how Joe Biden is, oh, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. It's kind of that whole attitude.
right,
But then you even have like the Republicans who they have the right idea, but like they're so, a lot of them are so weak. It's just,
yeah, no, yeah, a lot
and
of yeah, that's my problem with the Republicans is because they're very much
we're
spineless.
no offense, we're losers. Yeah, our
Yeah, yeah, or I mean,
but
kind
at
of
least
like how Ben Shapiro used to, characterize this. Like, the like conservatives or Republicans, they're the Washington Generals.
yeah, I mean, it really, that's really what it is. And then
They're
we
just there
finally,
to lose the left, a la the Harlem Globetrotters.
right. Then you get Trump that comes in, and he hasn't been in politics for 100,000 years like Joe Biden, and
Mm.
he's like, listen, and he's very blunt about it. It's like, listen, you live in these shitty cities that have been run by Democrats for decades, and what do you have to lose? Your city sucks, your schools suck, your life sucks, but you keep voting these people in. Vote for me, and take a chance on yourself to
Yeah,
do something different. And he's right.
yeah. Nah, I mean, I checked the California elections that are happening, and
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed because a lot of like the Democrats they were voted back in, like Brad Sherman, Adam Schiff was reelected.
Oh God.
Maxine Waters, who doesn't even live in her own district. That's the one election I don't get because because I think the challenger Joe Collins, he had a very effective um, campaign.
Yeah.
Pointing out the hypocrisy and pointing out like the do nothing attitude or record of Maxine Waters.
She
He's like the
hasn't done
most.
anything in 100 years.
No, she's been she's been in the Congress for years. I mean, like
She was
Joe
there
Collins,
before
like
we.
even showed her like her $6 million mansion outside of the district that she supposedly represents, and yet
Yeah.
people still voted her back in. It's like at that point, it's just like, all right, you guys are idiots. You just you get what you deserve.
I get that we live in a very liberal state. So obviously there's a lot of people that have drunk the Kool-Aid and
Yeah.
vote Democrat just like because that's what we are. It's like, but
Hmm.
no, it's our state is it's an awesome state. Don't get me wrong. I love California with all my heart. This is my home.
Right. Yeah.
But
Same here.
uh, but especially this last, I would say 8 years or so, it has really gone down the shitter, big
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
We have a garbage governor.
Hmm.
Um, we've had a
Well, we
honestly
had a string. We had a string of garbage governors because we had Jerry
Jerry
Brown for
Brown
8 years.
he was shitty back in the 70s when he was governor of this state, and yet
Yeah,
we
Governor
voted him
Moonbeam.
back in 50 years later.
Yeah,
A guy that supported a cult,
yeah,
the
I
Jim
know.
Jones
Yeah, I
cult.
mean, you people don't might not know. Like, there's a reason why I refer to him as Governor Moonbeam because that was his nickname because he had strong or somewhat compromising ties to Jim Jones.
Yeah. Then we get Gavin Newsom in, who isn't he related to Pelosi?
Yeah, he's Pelosi's nephew, and
Yeah,
he was the former mayor of San Francisco, and look
he
how he
sucked
left
there
it.
too.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
how
I
he
mean,
left it. Dude, there's an
Democrats
app.
fail
There's an
us.
app to track human feces on the streets of San Francisco. And you open it up, and that's all it is the tags. Tags all over San Francisco. That means there's
Yeah,
shit everywhere.
yeah. I mean, I mean, these guys just continue to fail upward, and it's like at some point, it's just like, come on. Yeah, like I don't, I will never vote for these people ever.
No.
I will always vote against them. I don't care. I don't care who their opponent is.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really sucky too because because it's such a Democratic supermajority that like sometimes it'll be like two Democrats going, in a single race, there'll be two Democrats going against each other.
2 years ago, there was not one. Uh, there was not one alternate like party at
Right.
all.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like
And
even with
I'm
like this recent even with the recent election and like there was also candidates for like local stuff, and one of them was DA and I try to research uh the candidates, and like one was the incumbent Jackie Lacey, who right now Black people or Black Lives Matter is not a huge fan of because they blame her for all of like the supposed Black deaths.
Yeah,
um, and then this other guy who like I didn't know, like Gasson or something. But yeah, I didn't know like what party affiliation he had. I went to I tried to look him up, couldn't really find anything. I didn't even think like he even had a website. Um, but then I try to use like an official government website or government affiliated website, Ballotpedia, and all it says is like he's non-affiliated. Come to find, I turn on the TV and I see an ad for him, and he's like, oh, he's something, Gasson's, staunch, we're Democrat. I was like, oh, jeez,
yeah, and it's just
there's
like,
just like no getting away from it. And I'm not complaining because it's like, I'm trying more and more. I'm trying to like the taste of blood in my mouth. If that makes any sense. I'm trying to enjoy the fight, because at a
Yeah.
certain because I can't just lie down. I just can't lie down and let my home be ruined further. But yeah, it was just a little it was a little disheartening, when because I actually because I didn't know, and I just put down, because he was a challenger, and maybe I wasn't exactly read up on Jackie Lacey's record, so I
Right.
put down Gasson, and then come to find that he's a Democrat, and he agrees with everything Gavin Newsom says, and he backs, he's all about climate change and blah blah. But even though he's running for DA, and that doesn't necessarily climate change isn't exactly uh, huge topic for that position. But he still claims he wants to stop climate change, even though he's just running for district attorney.
Yeah, 'cause that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
The I didn't. I know. Obviously, I haven't checked some of the because there's a lot of hotly contested Senate seats that are up on this election too. I haven't checked
Mhm.
up on any of those to
Right.
see how
Oh
those
well, in
work.
California there wasn't an election for.
It wasn't every state. I know our
Yeah.
because otherwise it would have been on the ballot. But I know like there was at least like 3 or 4 states that had pretty hotly contested Senate seats.
Mhm. Yeah, it looks like the Senate still stays with the Republicans with a very slim margin, 52 to 48, I believe.
Yikes.
Yeah. But I also heard that some of the Congress seats got flipped red.
Yeah, I mean that's uh, right now. I think that's more important than anything else.
Hmm.
Just because that way Biden and company can't just run roughshod over everybody.
Right. I mean, it's weird, but there is a silver lining. Like, if Joe Biden gets the presidency, um, the silver lining is that there'll be a Republican roadblock to him.
Yeah,
So like if he tries to pass these laws, then it's like boom, like the Senate vetoes it, and then like kicks it to like the Supreme Court, which thank goodness Trump was able to get in 3 SCOTUS
yeah,
nominees in. And so so that there'll be proper checks and balances.
yeah, which is something that is desperately needed in government, and
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
just
I
the
think that. Yeah, I think that's what people like don't understand. Like that, they say like, oh, it takes the government forever to do things, and it's like that's not
yeah,
a bug.
that's
That's
the
the
point.
feature. That's designed into the system. Because
I
yeah,
will
because
say
the
the one.
founders knew that like emotions run high in a crisis. And people tend to react very what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, everyone's
Like
like
very emotionally.
yeah, they're demanding action, and it's they're not looking at the big picture and like seeing like how this could potentially affect the future.
Hmm.
It's like are we gonna sacrifice the future for the now? And that's people aren't thinking that way. They just like, oh, we want action. And it's like that's not how it works. Because if you get
Exactly.
that, like you're gonna implode very quickly.
Right. I know. It's just like with the whole. It's like with 9/11. Pre 9/11. If you wanted to, you can like, even if you didn't have a ticket, you could have gone all the way to the terminal
Yeah,
and saw your loved one off. See your loved one off. I remember like when I was a kid, I remember my grandma was coming in from Korea, and my dad took me into the terminal, and we like yeah there was like a simple kind of like metal detector checkpoint, and
yeah,
yeah we were in the terminal, and I got to see all the airplanes.
yeah. I still
You know.
remember that time too. It's just that, but yeah, that all
Yeah,
ended.
but then interestingly enough, those security measures were supposed to be temporary.
Yep.
But now look at it. Now we have like full body scans that like penetrate our clothes, and that are very invasive.
Yeah.
But it's like all this, and for the sake of security.
It's yeah. I mean, it's just there's so much. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a problem that's ever going to get solved. Unfortunately, the one I was going to say that the one facet of our government that something that I don't think our founders really thought about, or they probably did think about it, but they didn't write it down, was the
Mm-hmm.
idea of there's not really a good way to repeal laws. So usually what ends up happening is we write new laws that supersede the old ones instead
Mm-hmm.
of just actually repealing a law.
Right. Yeah, that's why you have like these weird like uh, conflicts where it's like there's a law that says that you can't walk on the grass, but then they introduce a law that says that you can walk on grass, and then someone like goes to look it up, and it's like there's two contradicting laws on the books.
Right. Yeah, and that is one problem that I think should have been addressed, but
Mm-hmm.
hey, that's too late now, I guess. But
Yeah.
because you look at because I mean another obviously famous one is the idea with prohibition. They created a whole constitutional amendment for prohibition, and then 15 or so years later they wrote another amendment to repeal prohibition. So it's kind of like
Right.
what yeah. Uh, Instead
Yeah.
of
So
just
yeah, that is
repeal,
interesting that instead of having it taken off, they created another one to, I guess, like neutralize it.
yeah.
That's yeah. I
Because
mean,
there's because you look anywhere in like the Constitution and all that stuff, there's no real talk of like how to repeal a law if like
mhm,
they say like it ends up becoming like irrelevant, or if it's like it's just it's like it just doesn't work. It's
right,
there's not really a way to repeal the law.
hmm right, because yeah, because both like the amendment to for prohibition and the amendment to end it are still on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one that nullifies the original amendment. Uh, I understand why it's still on there, but yeah, why haven't they taken off the other one? Would it be weird? Like, I guess would it be weird if they like took off amendments and like didn't reorder them?
That's a good um yeah, that's a good question actually.
Because yeah, it'd be weird. Like if you kept the original 10, it's like let's just say that we keep the original 10, but we get rid of like the 15th you know uh, or 22nd amendment. And those are
Right.
gone. But then, and as you go through the list, like it jumps from 14 to 16, and 20 to 22. So it's like, so where did those amendments go? So maybe in a weird way, maybe it's a way to like kind of keep record.
Yeah, it's maybe that's the case, but like even on like a local level, like it's the same thing. It's uh, laws are it's much easier to get a law passed than to repeal a law.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just like, oh, this law doesn't work, like it's actually done a lot of damage, let's just get rid of it. No, you can't do it. It doesn't work that way. You have to
Right.
write another law that supersedes it, which is seems very counterproductive.
It's interesting that because Simpsons kind of tackled that idea with when they did like their episode about like Springfield having prohibition on the books.
Yeah,
It was like originally part of the original town charter, and then like the old guy in the archive at the end he like he opens more of the parchment,
the,
and he
yeah,
finds that they repealed that, or they amended it a year after.
yeah. So it's like, oh, actually, it looks here that it was like 200 years ago, and then it's like, oh, but 199 years ago we got rid of it. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. So it does kind of yeah. That is a head scratcher though. It's like why the founders didn't have a prescription to remove laws.
Yeah, I don't know if it was an oversight by them, or if it was they had discussed it, but maybe couldn't come up to a conclusion. Who knows?
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, and it's that'd be I would love to if I can find anything about like maybe like one of the founders talking about that, that would be
Hmm.
so one of their letters or
Yeah,
something
or
like
in the
that.
Federalist Papers, even maybe.
Yeah, something I still need to read.
Yeah, me too.
But
But
yeah, it's one of those things that no matter what happens though, I still love this country. It's still the best damn place to live on earth. Um, people keep trying to take more and more freedom away because it scares the hell out of them to be free. And but you know what? I'd rather live here than anywhere else.
yeah, I mean, back in 16, all those celebrities said that they were gonna leave the country if Trump got into office. Trump got into office, and they didn't move for shit.
Yeah, one of those. Oh, yeah, not one of them moved.
Not one sing, not one of those celebrities who came out and said like, "Oh, if Trump, wins the presidency, I'm moving to Canada or I'm moving to, X, Y, and Z." Not a single one left. Samuel Jackson
Yeah.
didn't leave. That fat cow. What's her
Lizzo.
name? No, not that. Not that fat cow. The other fat cow. The white fat cow. The one that molested her sister.
Oh, Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham. Yeah, like she said she was moving to Canada. She didn't move her
Okay.
fat. She didn't move her fat ass to Canada. She actually starred in a movie with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Um,
On, have you? Did you? Yeah, yeah. She molested her sister, but have you seen uh like some of the stuff that like their dad was like painting and
yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
Like,
like the artist. Yeah, sick fuck, dude. He was a pedo. For sure. I'm calling it. He was a
yeah.
pedo.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like, it's really disturbing. Fuck that shit. Yeah, he was a pedo.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, but I mean, yeah, so I think the best thing to do is just like regardless of the outcome of the election, just keep doing what you're doing, and build something or start a project.
Yeah.
Because I
Our
mean,
whole
honestly, everyone was like losing their goddamn mind when Trump was got elected, particularly people on the left, and they're like, oh, he's gonna take the, rights of gay people away, or trans people, or non-binary, or whatever. It's like,
that
what rights did you lose? The only thing
right.
he says, like, maybe, is like, maybe not a good idea to, have them, in the military. The group that has like a 50%, like over 50% suicide rate.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and then the
But
thing
also,
is
but really quickly, but serving in the military, that's not a right. It's a, it's a
it's a
privilege,
privilege.
or
Yeah.
and to a certain extent, a duty. Um, but it's not a right. It's like, it's
Because there's people that like they try to enlist, but because of certain issues, like either medical issues or things in their past or whatever, like they don't get let
yeah.
in.
I mean, it's like as simple as having flat feet can exclude you.
Yeah,
So it's not like the like trans people or whatever are like uniquely targeted against enlisting or what or serving their country. Like no, like um, it's like it'd be like me going and like trying to get go to enlist, and they tell me like no because of my hands, and like I cause a stink saying, oh, it's my right to go and serve, it's my right to go and die for my country. It's just like but it's
yeah,
not. It's like, and no amount of like huffing and puffing is gonna change that. It's like it's it's not the role of the military or the government to bend over backwards to accommodate you in that way. If anything, like especially in the military, they should be choosy. They should be discriminating.
Well, because there's a lot of things where it's like, I try not to make too big of a deal of certain things because it's like, oh, it's not like life or death, like, but when you're in the military, yeah, it's life or death. You need to have people that can, be able to be physically strong, that have all full capability to do stuff. Um, and even like, in the case like with certain like ratings and stuff, like they don't let everyone in like to like whatever rating. You have to prove your worth to be able to do it. It's not just and some are tougher than others. So like I said, not everyone gets to be a Navy corpsman. Not everyone gets to be a nuclear sub technician and stuff like that. It's very hard.
Yeah, and I mean, even with like some of like the less glamorous stuff, I'm sure there are still standards.
Oh yeah, there's standards for everything. Like even like my with the rating that I was in, I was a yeoman, but I was actually dealing with very sensitive information. I had to pass a background check. I had a pretty decent security clearance where because I'm looking at stuff that's sensitive, that is important for the military, important for the country. I'm also dealing with people's service records that has a lot of private information that I'm being given access to.
Trusted with, yeah.
Yeah. So if I have like some sort of like debt or against me, debts or whatever, I'm not going to get that security clearance because it's a way for people to foreign governments or domestic terrorists and stuff like that to blackmail me.
Kind of like Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people like I know there's some people who are like, "Oh, what's the big deal?" Yeah, so he took some money. It's like, do you not get it? Like
That money is
his son is a weak point.
yeah, and not only did he like not go against like telling us like no, don't do that, you're done, but he or like because you can't abandon your kid. I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Right.
know you.
Yeah.
I would
I
never
know.
ask.
Yeah. Yeah. We joke around about how he's like degenerate and a coke and a crackhead, but that's still
But
your
that's
kid. I mean, yes, maybe it is. Maybe it is a glaring indictment to Joe Biden's parental skills, but he's still your
I
kid.
think I think a lot of it, like a lot of his issues, started because he was in that I think that accident that killed his like
Oh yeah, yeah.
that
His mom
killed
and
Joe
sister.
Biden's wife and stuff like that. And he essentially watched his mom and his brother die, which is I think would fuck anybody up at such a young age.
Hmm.
So I think that probably had a lot to do with him kind of where he's at now. But but yeah, the fact that like not only did he like not put the kibosh on that stuff, but he looks like he was pretty much, if not like directly involved, was getting kickbacks from it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Letting his son and his
I mean, why
brother
wouldn't he?
part to him for money and
Right.
political influence in other places, which is not free. That comes at a price, and that price is selling out. Um, you know, uh, kind of like it sells influence and gets them inside to our government to be able to dictate policy and stuff.
Right. I mean, just think about the. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people forgot about it. But like the whole giant Fangstand thing, and like her driver for like 20 years was a Chinese spy.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, and again, like I don't know like how long that whole thing, like that whole relationship with Joe Biden was. I'm not, allegedly. But who knows how long? Who knows how long he was compromised for?
yeah.
You know, because it's like, it can't be just like, oh, now that I'm in a position of power, like vice president, I could then like start abusing it. I'm sure he was like,
You're doing that
I'm
well
sure he
before.
was taking liberties and abusing his power back when he was just the, little old senator.
Yeah, Lunchbox Joe.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is the world that we're living in. This is the reality of the situation. We don't know who our leader is, and it does have ramifications, and it does hold significance. Um, but then again, we can't allow that, to dictate our lives. We have to move on. We have to go forward. We still have to do our jobs. I mean, at least the ones who are even allowed to even do their jobs.
Yeah,
Because in the grand scheme of things, like the federal government really doesn't have that much power over you. It really doesn't matter who the president is.
it shouldn't. And that was never
Yeah, I
the.
mean,
That
I
was
know,
never,
like, it really doesn't though. But in a lot of minds, they make it like the presidency like so like important, even though like on a daily basis it doesn't really affect you.
yeah. It's just it was never supposed to affect us. And
Right? Yeah, it really shouldn't. It really wasn't supposed to be.
the local level was supposed to be much more. The state level was supposed to be much more important than
Right.
anything that's
Yeah.
going
I
on.
mean, do you know like who your council member is like on the city like the city council?
Yeah,
Like on a personal basis, like do you like see him around in the neighborhood and say, "Oh, hey, what up, man?" It's like, and making sure that they're representing you correctly. I mean, that's way more important than like what the president decides to do, like what the tariff on like Yugoslavian cotton is going to be.
yeah. It's uh, it's just it's a crazy time. But yeah, no matter what happens, don't scream at the moon. Like what happened 4 years ago. It's just
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just like, especially, and don't, if you're a Trump supporter, don't do the right wing version of that. Like that famous woman from Trump's inauguration. As it's announced that Trump is now the president of the United States, and she like howls that to the sky. Um,
yeah,
yeah, just don't be the right wing of that. Because I
yeah,
mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, I have more faith in people on our side. Uh, because I think I've been kind of gauging the temperature, and there are some people who are starting to feel a little black pilled. Even amongst our group.
yeah.
Um, but but again, yeah, but again, the presidency is not that important. It really isn't. You know, so all we can do is live our lives. And even if Joe Biden becomes president, I'm gonna root for him.
Yeah,
Just
because I
like
don't want them to fail.
exactly, I don't want him to fail. I like it's like cutting your nose off to spite your face, or like
Yeah,
kind of the example that I gave. When I told people that I supported Trump, like I supported the driver of the bus I'm on. You know,
exactly.
and it's crazy because for the past 4 years, people on the left, and people like TDS, they were like actively rooting for their bus driver to crash.
Yeah,
It's just like
exactly.
if you can imagine like Trump as the bus driver, and all you have every passenger on that bus being like, I mean, not all, but you know, like half of the passengers on the bus, like, oh, you're gonna crash this bus, you're gonna crash this bus, you're such a bad driver, you're gonna fuck up, you're gonna crash this truck.
If not, like actively trying to stab him and blindfold him at the same.
Right? Yeah, it's like it's right. They're like they're like the rowdy kids, like putting their hands over the bus driver's eyes, like, oh, can you see? Can you see? Can you see? You know.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
if Biden becomes the president, I'm gonna support him. I'm gonna hope that he does good things
Now I've had
because
money on him making it through a term, and
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, if if I had the money, I would definitely put money on him not lasting his first term.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not gonna be like, fuck this guy. Like, I hope he dies, and I hope
Right.
he fails. Like, 'cause that's honestly, that's really evil to have
Yeah,
that type of
it is.
mentality.
It really is.
Now,
It
do I hope
really,
some of his
really is.
policies that he wants to implement fail? Absolutely, because I think that they're
Yes.
bad for the country. But do
Right.
I want him personally to fail as our president? No way.
No, of course not. But I mean, like, who votes for a man that says that he's gonna raise taxes, or that he's gonna destroy, like, he's gonna destroy like tens of hundreds of thousands of jobs in
Yeah.
the oil industry?
Yeah.
Who, like, at that point, it's like you deserve what you get.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, if it does turn out that it's all a bunch of fraud and, like, like the swings, the battleground states like um, Minnesota and Pennsylvania and and Michigan and things like that, that they were gonna go to Trump, then okay, fair enough. But it's like, if you, like, I mean, like, people in LA, it's like, if you vote for that, like, we already, like, in California, we pay some of, like, the highest taxes in the country.
Yeah.
And you vote in a guy who says that he's gonna raise your taxes, and don't be fooled by it's only people that make, like, more than 400,000 a year. Like, yeah, that's still middle class people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, yeah, it's kind of on the upper end of middle class, but that's still the middle class. That's still everyday people.
Right.
So don't be such a fucking idiot. But then again, like, you voted, you wanted that. You heard him say that I'm gonna raise your taxes,
Yep.
and you said that's the guy for me.
Damn, like that sounds like an awesome idea. I want to pay 62% tax on and give that to the government. That's awesome. It's like
Right?
you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you heard him, if you heard him say that, then you deserve it. You absolutely 100% deserve it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's all I gotta say on that.
I think we've achieved catharsis. Man, that went long.
Yeah. Well, we care about the country, Andy.
We do care about the country, right? And yeah, no matter which way you voted, whatever, I'll still have a beer with you.
Yeah.
You might want to, you might try to smash the glass over my head, but I'm still willing to have a beer with you. No
Yeah.
matter, even if you vote, even if you, voted the other way, but I will ridicule you.
Oh, of course.
All right then.
I can definitely tell that there's a lot of activity going on outside, as far as like there's been a lot of police and fire truck activity today,
Oh
which
yeah.
makes me wonder, like, what the hell? Who knows what's going on outside? I
Mm,
haven't ventured outside today.
yeah. Just really quickly, I wanted to mention that I don't know if you're familiar with Bevelyn Beatty. She's somewhat well known. She's like this conservative black woman.
Mm-hmm.
She was in that viral video of like, she and another black woman were spreading the sharing the gospel in Chaz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she and her friend were out in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
and she ended up getting stabbed by a Black Lives Matter, or a group of Black Lives Matter kids.
Jesus.
Yeah, like they were the kids were, like, kind of like hassling this white guy, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not 100% sure on the details, but she did like a live she did a live stream on Instagram from the hospital from the hospital, and she informed everyone that she went to go intervene or try to intervene, and the kids like ended up stabbing her 3 times in the back.
Jesus.
Yeah, and yeah, these were like other black kid, these were other black people or black youths, and
Yeah.
so and supposedly that they're about black lives, but apparently not this particular black life.
Well, like I said, the documentary I watched today, it's like, oh well, she's not a real black person. Yeah, it's like, so it doesn't matter to them.
Right. Yeah, it's so funny because I was watching this interview with this minister missionary named Bodhi Bakum.
Mm-hmm.
He's a preacher. And him and his family live in Africa right now, and they're and what was it? He's a really interesting dude. I really enjoy his sermons and whatnot. But it was interesting because he always talks about this thing called ethnic Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
About like you have to be this specific like skin color to have a special knowledge of that particular people's group or whatever. But he was talking
Right.
about how like how critical race theory and stuff um, twist everything so much that uh, people just like end up becoming like pretty much insane because it's like because he himself is a black man, but and he speaks out against critical race theory and against identity politics and such. But because he doesn't toe the line of of critical race theory or identity politics, they don't consider him a black voice.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then and it's different from being a black voice and a black then there's a difference between being a black voice and a black body, apparently. So if you're out there, going, raising your fist, smashing windows in the name of, Black Lives Matter, then you are, a black body. But if you go oppose those things, then you're not a black body. Because you're supposedly, being used like a puppet, by like white people or whatever or the powers that be, and you're just being like a good, like again Uncle Tom. And so like yeah, so you're not because if you speak out against it, then you are then considered a black. You're not considered a black body. So that's why they're able to commit violence against like other black people.
Yeah. Just it's really despicable. It's sad to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was actually like sad to hear about her being attacked like that. Because I was like, because I follow her on Instagram and she was like showing, she shared some nice pictures of her and her friends, just enjoying uh, their night. And then all of a sudden she does a live stream on Instagram saying from the hospital saying like I got stabbed 3 times. It's like God damn.
Well, it's good that she lived to tell the story, though. I mean,
Yeah, no, yeah, thank God. Yeah, she's on fire for Jesus for sure. She was the one that defaced the Black Lives Matter mural in New York.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was like the one spreading the black paint saying Jesus matters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So God is using her greatly.
Very courageous person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, just wanted to mention that real quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't hear the story.
Yeah, so let's get into some lighter fare.
Yes.
And let's get to our review of the very final episode of Lost Speedways.
For the season, I think there's going to be another
for the season. Yeah, like the way they set up the last episode, you could tell that that they have plans for another season.
Oh, easily. I mean, there's so many like abandoned racetracks that.
Right. Yeah. And he mentioned like how he was getting tips about abandoned or lost speedways like in other countries too. So
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be an international. There could be an international foray in the coming season. I don't know exactly when because of like Corona lockdowns and stuff, but
Right.
yeah, I could see it happening.
But anyways, yeah. So this is the last episode of the first season of Lost Speedways. It's now it was never a like sanctioned racetrack, for it's not like for like any sort of motorsport. But what we were um given access to through this episode, what it was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s kind of his own backyard, literally his own backyard. He had at his house. He has he had this whole setup where in his like the some of the property he has what's known as a race car graveyard, and all these race cars that have gone through horrific wrecks that are just they're demolished, so the teams essentially throw them away, but he likes to preserve that history. And so it's like, well, give me the car and I'll throw it in my graveyard and kind of let the elements take them over. And so he has a lot of those cars in the graveyard. Um, he's also got like other little elements from the old days of NASCAR on his property that you wouldn't really you won't see at the racetrack now. It's just like old stuff, like spotter stands and where radio personnel would be at calling the race, stuff like that. But what he had done just is kind of like a fun thing to do with friends and family after just pretty much drink beer and fuck around for during the middle of the week before the next race. He actually had built a little dirt track in his backyard with these go-karts, and they would hold races once or twice a week just to have fun. And yeah, it was just kind of cool, like the to see. I'd always heard about this racetrack that Dale Jr. had, but I'd actually never seen it before in anything. Like there was no like real pictures or video or anything, but we were given access to that in this episode, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, no, this is cool. I also I don't know. I was under the impression that like he bought the property specifically because there used to be it's like a small track.
I think that's kind of like what I understood as well.
Okay.
That, but like that was a racetrack of his own creation though.
Right. But yeah, like, but there was also, but like the reason why he bought that property was because like there was also a speed track or there was a racetrack there.
That's how, yeah, because that's how he got interested in finding abandoned racetracks. Was because after he bought this property. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing all like the little bits of memorabilia and like the smash cars in the graveyard. Even if they didn't even necessarily were wrecked cars, like the car that he drove, um, what was it? I don't remember. It wasn't wrecked, but uh, they had left it out for like fans to like go and like sign and stuff like that, and
Yeah. His fan appreciation tour car,
right.
and it's like
Yeah,
he
he
didn't want
took
to
that.
like.
Yeah, like and yeah, they didn't know what they were gonna do with it. It was just like kind of taking up space, and he's like, "I'll take it," and then yeah, so they weren't
Yeah.
like all wrecks, but that was still pretty cool to see, like a car that he had driven to in past races, and kind of like got him made him the celebrity that he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that go kart track that he had on his
That would have been a
property.
lot of
That
fun.
was that sounds like it would have been so fun. just have your friends over for the weekend. Pop, having some drinks. Hanging out, racing a bit. That would have been cool. That would have been cool.
But yeah, no, I thought it was kind of like a kind of a nice way to end the season, and you get a little bit more. For me as a NASCAR fan, I got more insight into my favorite driver. Stuff that I didn't know about him, and but overall, I had to say that this was a pretty awesome documentary series. Whether you're a race car fan or not, I think you'll find if you like history, I think you might get a lot of enjoyment out of this documentary series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest NASCAR fan or racing fan in general, but I do enjoy history, and and learning about this was very enjoyable. Yeah. Again, I don't know if I'll ever watch a race, and I know Rob. He's gonna try. He's really gonna. Gonna try.
I'm working on it. You're. I think I'm gonna get you into it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I'm not saying that I'm gonna become a NASCAR fan or what have you, but I won't rule it out of the realm of possibility. I'll say anything's possible.
Did you have like a particular an episode that you felt like was your favorite, like that you really enjoyed?
Perhaps that one where it was like that giant, that
track in Georgia, that giant
like it had like multiple tracks and
yeah, that was my favorite one too. I thought that would have been such a cool racetrack.
Yeah, no, like, and if they were able to develop it more and actually, bring to fruition the vision of was it Fireball? Fireball
Yeah,
Roberts.
Fireball Roberts, yeah.
Yeah, if they were able to, bring to fruition his vision, I think that would have been an amazing place.
Yeah, had he not died, I think that racetrack would be not abandoned.
Yeah, I have that sense as well.
Yeah, but that was such a cool little that was such a cool idea. And I know like there really hasn't been anything quite like that. I mean, tracks have tried to do a few things, but not on that magnitude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, like, you just have like the racetrack is a racetrack, and seldom do you have like multiple tracks or multiple courses.
Right. So. I mean, I know like some tracks like one in the road course up in New York, Watkins Glen. Now they do have different configurations that can be raced on. There's a couple different configurations. Same thing with Sears Point Raceway in Sonoma, California. So yeah, there's all different types of like configurations, but nothing like where there's literally all sorts of different types of racetracks within one complex like that. It's just you don't see that.
Right. Yeah, that one was special.
And hell, like I mean, you could potentially have a couple different series running at the same time.
Right, concurrently, yeah, and you could make it like a day of it or a week. Yeah, or like even like make it a week-long celebration. Like it could have been like the Woodstock of auto racing.
Yeah.
What could have been.
Well, do you want to give our rating for the whole series?
Sure. Well, for me, I will give this. I'll give this a 3.5.
You're gonna give it a 3.5.
I'm gonna give it 3.5. I am a little bit prejudiced because I'm not that big of a racing fan, but I will still give, I still will give it its due because, just because of like, you know, learning about the histories and like, and a bit of the subculture of racing was very
Yeah.
interesting for me. And I think people who like me who aren't necessarily race fans, but really appreciate hearing about history, just about history, and then also learning about kind of subcultures and the like, would really enjoy it.
Yeah, obviously I'm gonna give it a higher rating, but I'm a little bit biased. It's gonna be a 4.5 for me.
Hmm.
I like the fact that obviously we got to see a lot of like what these race, there was a lot of pictures and videos that they had that they were showing from like when the racetrack was like actually being used.
Hmm.
There was obviously a lot of like archaeological finds that they were able to see. And the best part too is they had people that were coming on that had been a part of either running the racetrack, had been racing on that racetrack, that knew a lot about the history of it,
Hmm.
and hearing kind of these these first person accounts of people that were actually there, that were there during the heyday when these racetracks were still being used, or at least, or at the very least, people that know so much about it when they have a passion for the
Right.
history of
Yeah, like
auto.
that musician who's a ghost track enthusiast.
Yeah, and I was talking about Jungle Park, and like he
Hmm.
knew everything there was to know about that place,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's and in some cases, like the racetracks are in a state of arrested decay. They haven't been really like torn down, um, and in some cases they were either repurposed or like are actively trying to be preserved. Or in one case of the Hinchcliffe Stadium in New Jersey, there are efforts to get that thing back up to at least um, they want to turn it back into a racetrack and kind of hold events there again.
Right.
So it's and there's been a lot of people saying like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do it," and then it never gets done, which is kind of
Right.
sad.
Hmm.
But at least there's people that are still, that place should be preserved and enjoyed by so many
Right.
people.
Yeah. If nothing else, then just for kind of like the history, because I mean, yeah, it wasn't just auto racing uh, that place hosted, but like boxing matches and
Negro Leagues
uh,
baseball.
yeah, Negro League baseball. Yeah, that
And
site should be preserved. I mean,
yeah,
it's more than significant to the history of this country. Um,
exactly.
it's it should be preserved. Like it's one of the places where a lot of history took place.
So, but yeah, so I loved all of it. I thought they did a great job. I cannot wait for a second season. Um, and just to kind of like learn more about like other racetracks that some of like the ones that were on this season I knew about that had and then there were other ones where I learned something completely different. I had no idea about these, like that track the episode that we both really enjoyed about that Georgia Motorsports Complex. That's such a
Hmm.
cool
Hmm.
idea. I would have
Yeah,
never
no,
known how to
absolutely
use
it
it.
was.
Um, but yeah, so 4.5 for me.
All right. Well, there you have it. That was our review of Lost Speedway docu series on the Peacock app by NBC. I give it a 3.5. Robert gives it a 4.5. Would recommend. Um, if you're not an auto racer, auto racing fan, you might not enjoy it as much, but if you're someone who likes, stories and learning about histories, um, then this could be very enjoyable for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
That's out of the way. Let's get into our movie review. And this month, we will be. The theme is 80s martial arts. Um, this one is this month. I'm kind of I'm in control. I picked all the movies, and I picked all of the martial arts movies that kind of informed my childhood,
yeah.
and they all just happen to be from the 80s. Um, so to start us off this month, we will be reviewing Bloodsport, one of literally the probably most influential movie of my childhood. Um, yeah, let me give you guys a quick synopsis, and then we'll get into the review. U.S. soldier Frank Dukes has come to Hong Kong to be accepted into the Kumite, a highly secret and extremely violent martial arts competition. While trying to gain access into the underground world of clandestine fighters, he also has to avoid military officers who consider him to be AWOL. After enduring a difficult training, I'm sorry. After enduring a difficult training and beginning a romance with journalist Janice Kent, Frank is given the opportunity to fight, but can he survive?
This movie is I'd only seen like I'd always like seen parts and clips and stuff. But like this is actually the first time I like sat down and watched the whole thing from
Mm-hmm.
start to begin, start to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to say, like, there was obviously Andy knows I was texting him like as I'm watching it, like certain things that I was like, oh man, I forgot about this part, or I forgot about this part, like, and um, so there's a bunch of that stuff that I was pointing out. One of the things I was talking about though that now this came out before. I think this came out like right around the same time as the original Street Fighter, maybe a little bit
Oh
before.
yeah, the game, yeah. Which is so weird
Yeah,
because you don't really hear many people talking about the first Street Fighter. Street
because
Fighter
it's awful.
Two, yeah, Street Fighter Two is the most popular one.
Right. And I was pointing out that this is what the Street Fighter movie should have been. And I'm pretty sure that the that Street Fighter took inspiration off of this movie because it's kind of, if you think about it, that's kind of what it is. It's
Yeah.
about becoming the world champion of
Mm-hmm.
these all these different fighters from all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
and it's essentially you're to win, you either like knock out your opponent or kill them.
Right.
It's full
Yeah, and I
contact.
mean, like, yeah, and all the characters were in it. Like, E Honda was in there, Sagat was in there.
Yeah. You
Um,
had yeah, and like I said, it was you had the guy that was like kind of fighting a little bit like Blanca, in there too.
yeah, kind of like this crouch stance, but like, yeah, he was like flipping around like a monkey. Um,
Yeah.
but interestingly, the budget for this movie was $1.5 million, and it made $50 million at the box office.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, it was a very successful movie, and
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I
like this movie was on all the time in my house. Like, not just because I would watch it all the time, but just because it was on all the time. Like on the weekend, Channel 5, they had like the afternoon matinee, and they would always play Bloodsport.
yeah, no, this
And
was
the when I was first introduced to it, it was like in like the early '90s, but this movie came out in '88. So I was just
yeah,
like, I was like 7 or 8 when I first was introduced to it, because again, a lot of like a lot of my stories begin with my older cousins were watching me, and or they're supposed to watch me, and then
Yeah.
they put on Bloodsport, and I just I had to sit down and watch with them. So
Yeah, and it's I had to say though, like, yeah, this is one of those movies. Like, it's awesome. It's got a lot of like pretty great action. It made me like Jean-Claude Van Damme like is a very flexible guy. Like that he
oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't we kind of like when you think about these type of movies, like we kind of like make fun of them. It's like, oh, these are so like cheesy, like especially all like the Steven Seagal like movies like
Mm-hmm.
around this time. It's this he's not exactly like super flexible or anything like that, but like Jean-Claude Van Damme like is legitimate. Like he knows how to like he knows martial arts and he's
Yeah, 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 and yeah, he knows his body, like, and that's why there he had kind of had like that small resurgence, after he did the Volvo commercial where he was doing the splits.
yeah.
Yeah, and like that's real. He was actually doing that shit in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and uh, I liked his character. Kind of like, and you get a little bit of like his origin and like why he's even like wanting to be in this tournament. What it stands for him.
Hmm.
Um, and like because that competition meant everything to him.
Hmm.
Mainly because he wanted to honor um his teacher. That
Right, and
who
surrogate father.
yeah just because the other kid that he trained with, which was the son of his master, had
Hmm.
died, and his master was too old to fight in this competition, or when he did like fight in it, like he never won it. So he wanted to give him that. He wanted to fight on his behalf and win.
It's always weird because I always thought that his son, like, it was never really specified, but I always worked on the assumption that his son died in the Kumite.
Is that what I? Because I thought like maybe like he never made it to the Kumite and was he never fully realized his potential as a fighter.
Right. I mean, I as I gotten older, uh, that's a possibility that also entered my mind as well. But when I was young, when I was watching this movie, I always assumed that the son had died in a kumite.
Maybe I missed and I things maybe I missed that part. I might have to go back and watch it
No,
again.
like, yeah, it's because it's not expressly said, because because they have like a huge jump in time, from when Frank and his son are young kids, and then all of a sudden they're, I think, even though it's John Claude Van Damme with just like like longer hair, but like
Yeah,
I think he was supposed to be like 16, 17 years old, even though he looked
right,
like
right.
the age he is, at the
Yeah,
time of like when he's supposed to go to the Kumite. Um, but yeah, so that would make more sense that his son just died. Maybe he got into a car accident, or maybe he got sick. Maybe he got cancer and died. But yeah, you could see, like, I think like the best bit of acting in this movie was when his teacher Tanaka uh, had that little quiver in his voice when he was talking about his son. It's like, oh, like when he was talking about how the way it was done, in his family was like you pass the knowledge from father to son, and then it's like he kind of like he's like father to, and then when he said son again, it's just like he kind of had like that small like quiver. It's
yeah,
like, and for some reason I always remembered that part. It's like just like feeling that that level of loss where it's like this, especially like knowing the tragic history of Master Tanaka's life, where he had he had a wife and children before, but they were, he
killed.
lost them in the war, presumably. Oh yeah, yeah, in Hiroshima.
Yeah,
Um, and then him like starting a new family and having this one last chance with his new son, uh, and just and then like losing that and then him like having that little voice break was so
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, very, very powerful. Um, what was there was well, I was I was kind of making fun of a couple things where when Frank first meets Tanaka and when he crawls into the house and he's wearing a San Francisco Giants hat and a New York Giants football jersey. I was
Uh-huh.
like, what is he like? Is he like a fan of Giants? Like because these
Right,
two
I know
teams.
it's like Giants all the time, double Giants. Um,
Yeah,
but it could also be like kind of like immigrant style because
it could be. Yeah,
the real life character or the person that this Frank Deuce is based on did grow up in Canada
yeah, yeah,
or was
yeah.
born
So
in
he was.
is born in Canada and then like his family moved down to the States. But
Yeah,
I think that's what also explains why like the accent because like he probably was. I don't know because
French Canadian.
I did look it up. I did look it up, and the actual Frank Dukes, I think it said he was born in Toronto.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then I think it was supposed to be like a French Canadian accent,
yeah.
but I don't think Toronto like people from Toronto have or they speak French.
That's more
The only,
Montreal.
yeah, I think the only province that has a strict rule about speaking French is Quebec.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the yeah, that was the other thing that was surprising to me. So this was loosely based off of supposed real events.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was like, I had no idea.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know Frank
But
Dukes was an actual person.
yeah. It's a it's so yeah. It's supposedly based off his like actual life experiences. But yeah, like this is like pre-internet, so a lot of people kind of just like took his word for it. But then but more like people started coming out like saying that he's full of shit. Like particularly about like his military service, or because he was like
Yeah,
saying how like he used to work for the CIA, and he was like one of like the he did like wet work for them. For those of
yeah.
you
It's
not in
like,
the lingo, that he was a hitman for the CIA.
oh, he didn't just like piss on people for money.
Yeah. Maybe you don't know. Like you never know. Those files are classified.
Yeah,
But yeah, and
that's
also like they couldn't verify that was it the Tanaka the master Tanaka was an actual like person.
yeah. But I just thought I found that part was like kind of interesting. I had no idea that it was even remotely based on anything real.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think it's interesting because I think he did fight in the UFC, like proto UFC, where they were just like mix matching different fighters, like different fighting
Yeah,
styles. And yeah, I heard like his debut, like one of his fight, like he got his ass handed to him real quick.
yeah. It kind
So
of reminds me of, like was it like when Kimbo Slice like created that whole his whole like fighting
oh
thing, and like he got
yeah,
like
yeah.
ass handed to him. I was like, well, that sucks.
Oh yeah, and then he got his like his chance, in the octagon, and like within like the
Yeah,
first like 5 seconds, bam, right to the face, down.
yeah,
Oh man,
uh,
I kind of felt bad for him. It's just like
yeah.
he kind of built himself, but it's like all the videos of him like knocking out people, they're like all street bums, like fighting, fighting
Well,
for
like
like,
I was
and their
like the
payment
guy
was like a
like
sandwich.
yeah. I mean, the guy like looked like he fought on a trash barge his entire life.
Right? Yeah, just fighting against bums.
Yeah,
So like yeah, so when he gets to like the UFC, like he finds out people find out they had a glass jaw.
yeah. But no, this movie is like was real interesting. I loved all the action. The fight scenes were awesome.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think they really splurged out, and I think they used those fast rate cameras.
yeah,
Because like some of like those slow mo shots of like the punches and stuff, it's like you could like they weren't blurry.
Yeah. No, it was.
You took in everything, like the way like the face was moving and like the spray up like the sweat from the impact, and
Yeah.
they really they did a really good job.
I mean, even like in some of the like the kind of like they would do that.
That one gif where it's like Van Damme's like screaming, and that was actually a beautiful shot.
I also joke too that the girl that Frank falls in love with, when she finds out, like when she finally like sneaks into the Kumite and like essentially like sees that Korean guy Chung Lee,
Chang Lee.
or
it's
like
so
or she
yeah.
or I no he or it was actually he Chung Lee ended up beating his friend, the like kind of Zangief looking character,
the American Zangief, the American Zangief,
and nearly beat him to death.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh my god, this is awful! We have to end this." It's
stop ruining it, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, women, they always ruin things.
I found it very interesting that they didn't like have, because they had Chung Lee. He was from South Korea, and I found that was kind of an interesting choice to make him like be a bad, like they should have made him like North Korean or something.
Right. Yeah. I wonder why they didn't, but yeah, I thought it was hilarious that the villain was like this jacked-looking Korean dude.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like you can tell that like I wonder if Terry Crews watched this movie, which he probably did, because how he like Chung Lee would do like the
the peck thing.
Yeah, which Terry Crews is very famous for.
Yeah.
So
this movie has had an effect on people, like the Dim Mak.
Yeah.
The Death Touch.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know Bloodsport isn't the first to introduce the concept, but like the word, it's become, it's been used a lot in like popular culture, even to the point where I think like Steve Aoki, I think it was like he created like his own studio called like Dim Mak Studio.
Yeah.
So this movie definitely did have an effect on popular culture.
Definitely, yeah. It's yeah. This is a fun ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like, and it's so weird, interesting that like the side story, the B story, I guess, like like these government agents trying to take Frank back to the army or whatever, because like the army supposedly invested a lot of money in training him or whatever, but it's like
right.
He came to you already trained from Tanaka, so what the hell are you trying to take credit for his training or whatever?
Exactly. And it's kind of it's funny because we actually never really find out like what happens to him like after he goes back, like
Right.
he's gonna get court-martialed, he's gonna lose some ranking, but he kind of like willingly like sacrificed all that to honor Tanaka. But yeah, I think this movie's awesome. It's what I call like, no, maybe it's not quite that. Like, it's not a bad movie. It's not like glorious shit. But no, I think it's just a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I would agree with you on that assessment. Oh man, I was gonna bring up a point. Just something. I see what you mean about the sirens going off.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Joyce like, yeah, we're not going out at nighttime.
Yeah, only during the day. What is it? And the humor in this is fairly good.
Yeah, this is. I think this is one of. I think this might be Van Damme's best movie.
Yeah, probably.
I feel like this character, the character that he played, and like kind of the way that he played it, like had a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Well, just like what maybe like the funniest scene for me is when the two government agents are eating at the restaurant,
Yeah.
and they're making jokes about it. Like Forrest Whitaker character is like he's trying to use chopsticks, but he can't really get the hang of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is good stuff. It's like, and then the other agent's like, yeah, maybe I'll ask them to go kill it first. And then but then like the Hong Kong police chief inspector like comes to give him information about Frank, and then one of the agents asks like, oh, please join us, and then the police chief is like, oh no, I never eat here.
Yeah.
Kind of like he knows something.
Yeah.
And then once they get the information, like Forrest Whitaker's character like throws like a piece of meat to like the dog, like to a nearby dog, and like the dog doesn't even want to eat it.
Yep.
Yes.
It's just I thought yeah, that was pretty funny. You had that was it like, and initially like Ray Jackson, which ended up becoming Frank's friend. Like the first like time we meet him, it's like, oh god, I hate this guy. Like he's such a dick.
Yeah,
You thought
he's kind of like this. He's kind of like the stereotypical like braggadocious like American.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like you kind of want to hate him, but then him and Frank form this fast friendship over a video game of all things.
Playing a god awful video game, Karate Champ. I've never played the arcade cabinet, but I will say the NES port of that game fucking sucked.
Yeah, I remember you were constantly bringing that up to me when we hung out the other night. It's like, God, that game sucked.
It sucks. I hate Karate Champ. It's so bad. I'll have to pull it up and I'll show you why it's a bad game.
Oh, I think I still have the link that you sent me. I'll check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that was kind of funny. It's like, and the way that like they're holding the controls in the arcade cabinet, it's almost like they're fighting themselves. It's just
yeah. It's like up, down, dip.
It's like, wow, Karate Champ doesn't even like respond well that way. Doesn't respond with that much accuracy.
Right, yeah, like the movements were like very jerky, like even like the flips and things
yeah.
It was like there was like so much delay. Like as soon as like you have to like, it looked like they had to like engage like the joysticks like twice before there was any actual like movement.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it's funny because after the I don't know how much the people that Karate Champ like paid to get that game into the movie, or if, how that came around. But then that a ton of people bought that video game when it came out on NES because of Bloodsport.
Right.
It's like, oh, awesome. The game that Ray Jackson and Frank Dukes were playing, cool. And then they play it, and it's like, and you just look at are you fucking kidding me? This game sucks.
Yeah. And really quickly, interestingly, it might sound weird that Rob said like, oh, how much did they pay to get that game in there? Back in the day, movies paid companies to have their shit in their movie.
Yeah.
It's different nowadays where like companies now pay movies or like to get their shit in their movie. Like one of like the most memorable one was the Coca-Cola sign in the Superman movie.
Yeah.
Like Coca-Cola paid a shit the movie had to pay a shit ton of money to have that logo in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of like generic looking like sodas or or ice creams or products in movies because they can't afford the license.
Yeah, now things have changed quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. Now companies give money to movies to have their products in their movies. So that's why when you ever watch a TV show or a movie, like, and they have like this weird scene where they're talking about a specific product, it's like, yeah, because the company paid them to do it.
Yeah. Don't you just love Pepsi?
Yeah,
What?
like Pepsi's great. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Just like,
It's like that. Huh? That kind of interrupted the dialogue there.
right? Yeah, it's like that came out of nowhere. It's like, dude, like, did we just watch a commercial?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I really have anything else really to say about the movie. Other than go fucking watch it. It's awesome. It's on Netflix right now, so it's free.
Right, and you're locked in your house, so what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, spend an hour and a half watch Bloodsport.
Yes, it is awesome. Although it was really I don't know why, but I remember there being more nudity. But then when I'm watching it now, it's like it's just Van Damme's ass.
Yeah, pretty much. Like there really wasn't a whole lot of like sex
Time.
in the movie. Yeah, which I think would have kind of thrown it. It didn't belong. It's not that type of movie for
Right.
it.
I mean, yeah, they had like there was an implied sex scene, when like in the next Van Damme's character and the journalist lady, have dinner and then like they wake up in bed together and then that's when you see Van Damme's ass because he's like trying to sneak out, kind of like quietly trying to get his clothes back on and
You can go
they
to the
I don't
coupé.
I think that might have been a contractual requirement. Like Van Damme put that in there. I'll be in this movie, but you have to show my ass.
Could be. Yeah. All right.
I wouldn't put it past like because originally Van Damme was supposed to be the Predator in the Predator movie.
For real. Real?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, and so like, but then he backed out of it because he had to be in that suit, and then they would
Right.
never like see his face.
Oh, that would yeah. So yeah, you're probably right. He probably wanted them to my body needs to be seen.
Yes, like not just like when I do all this bendy ninja stuff, but like they have to see my ass. Oh,
Well, shall we give our rating, Andy?
yeah. Why don't you start us off?
You want me to start off?
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna give this movie a 4. Um, it's very compact. Like I was surprised they put a lot into an hour and a half, and the movie it didn't feel like it was just like flying at lightning speed, but I was like, it kind of left me wanting more a little bit. But they did a really great job within that time frame, that hour and a half. I thought the characters were pretty cool. Um, the tournament, like the fight scenes themselves, like it was very well choreographed. It was a lot of fun, even like watching some of the other like fights that were happening. Even though they weren't like they were just side characters.
Right.
Um, it's the interaction between Frank and Tanaka and like that whole story was very captivating, and obviously it gives you a reason like to why you want to root for Frank to win. It's not just because he's the main character, but he has a vested interest.
Right. Yeah. He has a he has a very compelling reason to be in this tournament and to win
Yeah,
it.
he's not fighting for himself. He's fighting for something.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yes.
yeah, I really loved it.
Nice. It it does my heart much. It gives my heart much joy to hear you say that. Of course, I'm letting you guys know I'm biased. I grew up with this movie. It's many nostalgia points are gonna factor into this. But I'm not gonna go insane, and you know, I'll be fair. I'll try to be as fair as I can be, and I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
What's your knock on it? Like, why isn't it a 5?
My knock on it, what I think I'm just I'm seeing it more as an adult, and and I'm just trying not to be biased. So I don't want to flap the handle because kind of the same way that I pick something like off of Amazon to buy. Like I always read the four stars because my thinking is the 5 stars is like too enthusiastic. They're not being they're not being honest with me.
Right,
They're
right.
being blinded by something. But the people that give like a 4 or like a 4.5, those are the people that are like being real. It's like, okay, it's great, but there's this one problem with it.
Yeah. So you're just wanting to be you don't want to just go too crazy. You want people to, you know,
Exactly. I want people to go watch this movie because I love it so much.
yeah.
And I mean, if I wasn't like reviewing this professionally, then yeah, I'd give it a 5. But for the sake of the audience, and I really want people to watch this because I love it so much, I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
All right. I give it a 4. You give it a 4.5. Um, it's a must see. It's on Netflix. I think it's also free on Amazon. So yeah, check it out.
Absolutely, would recommend. Yeah, it's way better than people like will tell you. It's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you think Joyce would watch it? Probably because it meets like a lot of her requirements.
I think so. I think she might like this movie if I showed it to her. It's a hot guy. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
action.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sort of a sex scene.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Why is that guy beating these guys up? Why did that guy kill that person?
Like, how did he break that brick? He didn't even touch it. Uh, all
All
right.
right.
Well, yeah, that was our review. Go and watch it. Definitely would recommend.
Now, is it next week or 2 weeks that you're taking the fishing trip?
Uh, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So
Okay.
next week,
So
and then the following week after that, that's when we'll be off.
yeah, we'll have a new docu series that we'll be starting to review.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, we'll continue with the 80s martial art films month,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see if we have a president.
Yeah. Well, cross your fingers. All right. Well, that will do it for us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a good time. I'm sure Robert had a good time.
I had a great time.
Yeah, as he's nursing his hangover.
I'm actually much better now.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because we need you to sort all those fraudulent ballots.
Oh yeah, I have a whole bunch of Joe Biden ballots that I found. I've been filling out.
Right. Yeah. Just
The
holding it in the
order.
back. Just
Yeah,
waiting for the right moment, right time
yeah.
to bring them out.
Special orders from work. It was like I had to fill out a bunch of ballots for Joe Biden. So
Right. It's so crazy because it happened exactly as they had said it was going to be. And like that Axios interview that
yeah,
guy did talking about the red tsunami. It's like, oh, like it's like, yeah, it'll look like Trump is winning, but when more of the ballots come in, then Biden is gonna win.
yeah,
But it's so crazy. Like they literally told the country that they were gonna steal the election, and people are like,
yeah.
no.
That's
Like
crazy.
when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, it's
All right.
another fun
Well,
week, dude. I'm glad we
yeah.
can't wait till
What was
next
it?
week. I said like I
Yeah.
can't wait till next week.
Nice. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we do this usually on Tuesday, and usually around 8ish, but more like 8:30. I don't know. Maybe we should just change the time to 8:30. But then I don't know because then we might start we might be starting at 9 then.
Yeah.
But so let's just keep it at 8. Yeah, so don't forget to join us every Tuesday at 8 o'clock for our Nocturnal transmissions. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows we have and the Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at podcastcoj, and Instagram at Circular Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you again, and let's do it again next week.